Then we'll minimize that, and hopefully it will record. So just to reiterate, on the GenPen website, we went down to the our deadline, and we were almost just about ready to kind of like release the full site. And then we ran into some issues that were sort of related to linking together the UI portions with the underlying models. But that being said, I want to just sort of use this 20 minutes or whatever to kind of go over sort of like what we've done and where we're going to try and go. So the first thing I guess I'll do is like, I don't know the last time that you saw the application, but the application's actually changed a fair bit, although it hasn't had that much work done to it recently. And I'm just going to switch over to, where are we going? We're going to docking. Yeah. So I'm not going to recompile it. I'm just going to kind of cross my fingers that it will run. And it should come up. Okay, so this is sort of like our little new splash screen. I don't know if I like it. We'll see if we change it. But now, so we have this bit of like a kind of like a docking framework. I saw some chats coming in on the things there, so I'm just gonna look. Is it quiet enough that I can unmute you now? Where are you? Oh, we can't see the display. Oh, jeez. Stupid me. Okay, so I'm gonna share my entire screen. I apologize. So, can you see the screen now? Yes. Oh, okay. So yeah. You're just like, what are you talking about? We can't see nothing. Okay, so the application has evolved quite a bit in itself. And actually, I'll quit it just so we can kind of like restart it, and the people that are watching the video will be having a chuckle at this because I'm kind of like restarting it just for you guys. So we have kind of like a little splash screen that comes up. Should come up. Hopefully it will come up in this. There's our little splash screen, and it loads the different components. Okay, it's got our little dumb logo there, which we're probably going to change, but and then we have our schema generator, and all the different sort of like components of that. So the idea was that we were going to build Genpen entirely with Genpen. That was sort of like the plan, right? And let me see if I can get that to come up. Hopefully it will come up. Maybe we have to go over to Profile or something like that. Or maybe not even running it. That's a possibility. Let's see. So that's the old site. Okay. And then where are we going now? I might not be running the local version, so I'd have to actually turn it on to get it to show up here. So it's not actually running. Let's see if this is running. API inspector is not running either. So, all right. So Git should be here. Git is there. So we've integrated Git, and right now this Git repository is pointed at a different Git repository, not this specific project. But we've made some pretty significant progress towards like kind of where we want to be. This is probably, no, that's not going to be working either. The code will be working because it's just going to link to the code window, and that's not attached to, yeah, to anything. So we got profile, user, credit, billing. Um, Anyhow, so you can see that the application looks quite different in terms of how it was before, and we have sort of like a docking framework, so you can kind of move things around as you want to, right? Like, so some people they don't want to have, you know, they just want to have everything sort of like over on one side or whatever, and maybe have like a big kind of working area that they're gonna do their stuff on there. Um, Let me see if I can get like there must be something on here that's gonna link. Maybe not because yeah, there's nothing running locally. Um, but so I'll show you what we've deployed though. Um, so we've changed the application a lot here. You can see it's quite different than it was. We're not running a local copy of the application, but we have deployed a copy over here. Let me see if I can. Yeah. So this is not a great like front end, but let me see if I just refresh it. You can see it kind of like slides in or whatever. So we've got kind of a little bit of graphical stuff going on here. The idea is going to be, that you're going to come in and sign in with your username and password. If you don't have one, you're going to sign up. The process for signing up, we're only going to ask for an email. We think this is kind of a good idea. I'd be really grateful if you guys would give me some feedback. So the only thing that you would need to sign up would be an email, and then once you sign up, it'll actually send you your password, and then when you change your password, it's going to verify your account. So it's just one step. You don't have to type in like your name and all that stuff. That's all 100% optional. So if you guys like, we just wanted to remove all the friction. We need some way to have a connection with people so that they can have security, they can have, access to their stuff, they can have access to, what they want to have, um, without having to have, all the other sort of like things that come along with it. So once they've logged in, basically they're going to come into essentially something similar to this. We're just about there. Not quite yet, almost. Um, this security center is going to sort of like keep track of your different activities, like which devices you logged in with, or whatever, like in theory, if you clicked on some other area, it's going to show up here on your security center. Then, in terms of your actual projects, so once you're like starting a new project on, say, Genpen or whatever it is, your projects are going to show down here. So it's going to show you, the name of the project, um, the size of the project. You can see this is just, Latin stuff. This stuff is actually all set up in the database, and has been generated, but we're just sort of placing in placeholders. Now down here on the billing point, that is all empty because this part is pulling directly from the database. Same thing on the staging point. There's no data in there. It's pulling directly from there. Um, so that part is like basically live. And the next part will be to put this project section, make it live. So that when you actually start a new project, it's going to, there'll be like a kind of a window that pops up and asks you to describe, the briefly what you want your project name to be, maybe a description of it. And then once that's done, then should be able to launch the project and begin to work on it. Okay, and as you're working on it, we're just going to track minutes. We're going to track build time or builds. So every time that you build, you do like a full build. This will tick up, and then every time that you do like a deployment to a staging endpoint or a production endpoint, um, it's gonna show up in here. Okay, so and then so we're staging in. So initially we're only going to offer a sandbox accounts, and that's really going to go for like people who are just actually interested in the project. Um, we've we've got we started with 5 sandboxes and they're all gone, and then we added another 10, and I know that 3 are absorbed. And there's probably a couple more that are absorbed just like from people that want to use it. But so that means if you guys are on the call here and you want a sandbox, don't think we're gonna go too much past like 15 sandboxes, and the sandboxes are really meant just for like to help us like kind of work out the kinks in the application, and also to give people like some priority access if they want to like try and help out on the project. um, and so the idea basically, once you've got your project set here, whichever one you're working on, you'll say you're working on like a, in this case, Genpen, right? So and then you'll launch it and the application will load, and in this is a bad example because I'm not loading. I'm not loading. I'm not running it locally, so it's not showing up here. But you know that as you build out your your schema, like over here, I've got my models. So calendar, billing, or so on. Uh, these things here will fill out, and this part will update. And as like you've seen in other demonstrations, this part will fill up. And then once you go and you do a publish, that would be like a build, right? And when you do a build, then it's going to basically publish it to like a local endpoint, not a public endpoint, but to a local endpoint. And then at some point, we're not taking it just yet, but at some point we'll take it so that you can actually, once you're comfortable with it, you can promote it directly to a staging environment, and then the next step will be to promote it directly to a production environment. So, so you kind of have like the whole stack, right? Built there. So, I mean, just to go back to the site, like this, these, I think we're right now we only kind of have one sort of look and feel. Just give you kind of an idea of like what the UIs are capable of sort of like looking like. Um, so I mean, this is kind of silly, but you know, this is just kind of giving you an idea of a simple kind of a thing. This is all going to be optional to fill out. On the funding page, this is just going to be linking to like a sort of like a PayPal. We might also accept probably like Bitcoin or Ethereum and maybe placeholders or other cryptocurrencies. I think initially we'll probably just start with something simple like PayPal, uh, just to keep it simple. And then because calculating the dynamic prices with Bitcoin can be a little bit complicated. Um, and yeah, I mean that's this in a nutshell. That this is basically. I mean, we're going to try and expand upon it, add more features, uh, add more capabilities to it. But it's kind of how it should go. And then over on your project section, once you're happy with what you've got, you should just be able to click a button and it will download a zip with the full application that you've built, including all the graphics, uh, and so on. So we're looking at, I think, probably over the next 2 to 3 months, probably 25 to 30 new sort of like graphical look and feels that you can plug in. If you have your own, you can plug them in, but just we'll just have basically like a little, almost like over here you can see we kind of got like a drop down kind of thing where you can kind of change the feeling of it a bit, just without actually having to change your style too much. Um, it's sort of a silly thing, um, but in terms of like the look and feel, we're gonna have probably like I said, about 25 different styles that you can choose from. And these panels, you should be able to move them around and put them however you want. And that's kind of give you kind of a rundown. So I'm just going to zip back to our channel there and just see if there's any questions. What about logs, exceptions, errors, etc.? Will you keep track of those? Yes, we will. Right now, right now we are keeping track of them inside of our, where's the Windows logger. Let me see if I can get the logger back on where to see where it is. Okay. So right now, like we have this awful logger screen that definitely needs work because it just logs everything, right? So it's just too verbose. It makes it so the program is like almost not even usable because it just logs everything. So we're gonna we're gonna try and change that up a bit so it's not so verbose. But you will be able to like save your logs and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah. Um, there's a lot of work that will be have to be done, I think, in order to like make it so that a lot of these things can synchronize directly to the site. But I think the end goal really is like we want 90% of the functionality of the actual Genpen website should be you should be able to build it essentially in the tool, right? So all these different kinds of components, like attaching them to data sources, logins, single sign-on, all these things, those are all workflows. And we've gone through that before. I think you saw some examples of that before when we were a little bit earlier on. The nature of this application is, we're not quite there yet. We're trying to get as far as we can. We realize we're a little bit behind our schedule. What can I say? You know, not everything gets delivered on time. We tried, but I think that you can. I think most people who look at this would probably say, what, if you were able to build a website like that and get it that far along, and actually, I could even show you inside. Like, I mean, we've really, really dug into this. Like, the amount of automation that we've built. Like, if you tried to build this by hand, I mean, like in this amount of time, right? Like, you tried to build it by hand in the brief period of time, at the same time that you're building the tool, you can't. It's just not possible. So we've basically proven that, like in a sense, that it is definitely possible to accelerate the development using the tool. Um, and yeah, we've run into a few little like things we didn't expect. Uh, but I'm thinking that, once we've actually connected the REST API fully to the UI, then it's just going to be a matter of going around and sort of like fixing kind of like small little bugs. And at that point, then yeah. So could we get access to the sandbox? Marco, you know what? If you want access, just send me a DM with your email. That's it. We have space, and the only thing that we're gonna I kind of want to stress is that these sandboxes are not cheap, actually. Um, Believe it or not, like the amount of compute power that's required to do the full computation, right, with the AI. I mean, I could actually show you. I could show you some. You know what? Let's raise a couple eyebrows. We might as well. Do you mind? You guys mind if I just take extra couple seconds here? And I'm just gonna go. We're on the website. I'm just gonna go back into the tool, and I'm gonna go into one of our integrations. If I can find it here, and we're gonna go in here. We actually have a game. Conway's Game of Life is sort of like built into it, ironically. But let's play. We can play a little game here. So typically, when you see the application, normally what you do is you would you. So this would be like the centerpiece, right? Is the model development. I think you guys kind of have an idea, or you remember this, that we would build the models out here, and you'd work on them. You'd have your you'd be working on these, and then these would turn into eventually these would get represented um, by objects models over here, right? That was kind of like the whole concept. Is that ringing a bell? I'm just going to look at ringing a bell. Right. So check this out, because this is kind of like our next step. So I want you guys to tell me. Uh, let's make a model of something. You guys pick it. What do you want to pick? And I'm going to show you, because this is going to be much more advanced and faster than you've seen before. Just pick any model you want. I don't care what it is. Bicycle, train, luggage, whatever. Any kind of like physical object that has a name and exists in the universe. Cars? Okay, maybe let's try and like narrow it down a bit, a little bit. Do you want me to unmute you? You could type into the thingy too, if you want. I mean, I could say cars, but the problem with cars is you're talking. It's an array. Okay, car parts shop. Okay, that's a model for sure. By itself, that's definitely a model. That is. I'm not complaining about cars. It's just that whenever it's plurality, it brings in a certain. It's not plurality by itself. It's not a single model. It's a plural. It's a bunch of models. So if we start with a car parts shop, and we let the system we aggregate out the AIs, right? So here we've got back 15 different items, and I'm just going to bring these up onto a notepad so we can actually see what they look like. And we'll just go through them one by one. So this is formatted in such a way so that we can actually parse them out. So now this is all generated, right? Like by AI, right? Like so, there's an N there, and no N over here. So we've got so the distance away from you. Is it an online store? True or false? What is the age of the business in how many years? Right, integer. 10 is the number of employees that work there. The variety of brands. Variety of brands. Does it have a variety of brands? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's Honda only. Does it accept returns? True or false? Does it offer delivery? True or false? Okay. What year was it founded in? Okay. What's their quality rating overall? Right. So there's 15 These are 15 different properties, and if you notice, they're all primitive types. So they'll be fully supported by our system just like that, out of the box. If you want to try another one, we can do one more just for the fun of it. Give me a weird one. And actually, what's funny with this, you can dig into those. So you can like pick on one of those subsections and drill down into it and get another 15 attributes. They're all in Coffee Maker. Okay, that sounds like a good one. So let's see what comes up with Coffee Maker. Okay, so Coffee Maker. All right. Okay, and then we're going to get our data back. Here's our 15. And that's controllable, by the way. We can actually control it so that it will be either more or less. They don't always, as you notice, they don't always come in the exact same format. But we have tools that will allow us to parse these out. So I'll just finish sort of splitting these guys out a bit so that we can talk about them briefly, and then I think we'll just end if that's okay with you guys. I think this would be an interesting demo. I mean, like we're behind. We didn't hit our deadline, but that's okay. You know, we did the best we could, and I think it should just be a few more days, really. So we've got 15. So it's programmed right now to just produce 15 different primitive types. So number one, is the coffee maker automatic? True or false? Okay. What's the pot size in integers? I guess what is that, like milliliters or something? Coffee maker strength. I'm not sure about that. So the way that we were going to present this is it'll give you these options, and then you can just like, check the ones you want, and it'll add it to your model. So that you don't have to necessarily like try and come up with everything, like because these come up with pretty good ones sometimes, right? So for example, grinding settings, okay, or brew time, filter type. So maybe it's those filter types. Sometimes it's like a A4 or they have different filter types. A timer setting, does it what the date? What's the water level? Okay, how much water? The power switch, Boolean on and off. Display panel, does it have a little display panel? And if it does, like what's on it? Is it programmable? True or false? Okay, some of them are actually. So that's true. That's a good observation. I have no idea what that means, but it's probably something. If there's a barista out there that's maybe they'll put a comment on this if we upload it to YouTube. Does it have a cup warmer plate? True or false? And I think mine does, yeah. And then does it have a pause feature? So these were features of a coffee maker that this thing came up with by itself. Okay, so our kind of goal with this is that we want to take the work out of. Okay, so I'm gonna stop presenting now, and so what are the next steps after the user is done with the model creation? So I think the basic idea here is like if you're trying to build an application, whatever kind of application it is, right? So let's say you were, just for the sake of simplicity here, you were making a coffee maker or a is that what they're called? Coffee makers? You're making a coffee maker website, and you wanted to have like every single different feature that coffee makers might have, right? So one of your models would be like a coffee maker. Another one of your models might be like a customer, right? Another model might be an order, and another model might be like a delivery. Is it done or not, or like, what's the status of the delivery? You might have like another object that represents a refund, or that represents like a return. So whatever whatever trying to like kind of business rules you're trying to put together, this kind of a system will make it very easy to put that together in a way that's highly customized for that specific use case. Because we don't have to stop at 15. We could you could say like, look, I want to have 100 features for a coffee maker, and it can do it. I mean, at some point, like it just starts to get ridiculous because like the different characteristics of the coffee maker almost become like redundant, right? So, but I would say like for a coffee maker, you could probably go up to like 45 features easily. Uh, and are you able to think of all of those that quickly? Probably not. So I think there's a benefit there to a customer, and yeah. So again, another sort of rough around the edges demo, but thanks for pushing me to do it, even though like we didn't really hit our exact deadline. We're right now we're I guess a couple days behind, uh, but I think we're pretty close, and I hope that it at least looks like we're getting a lot closer, and hopefully you see that there's been some pretty heavy duty progress since the last video. And with that, I'll just wrap this up if you guys are okay, unless there's any other questions. But Marco and Guy, thank you both for coming back and following the project. The dashboard looks amazing. Yeah, thanks for demo. Well, the dashboard is just the dashboard, right? So, like, I mean, the idea is the tool. So the tool will allow you to make your own stuff. And yeah, we do have dashboards on like drag and drop them in, right? So that's if it looks good, that's cool because then that means people will be able to put them on their own programs. Yeah. Okay, so with that, we'll just turn off the recording now. I'm gonna save recording.